So I only read 4 books in April. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Hi, hello, how are you? How has your week been? I feel like it's been a while since I've actually said that, but yeah, I only read 4 books in April. So anything I said earlier in the year about being out of my reading slump, well no, I actually was out of my reading slump. A video that I was filming, I just was not into the books and they took me forever to read, but here we are. So unfortunately we started off the month pretty strong and I read my favorite book that I read in the month, which was Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the final book in the Powerless trilogy. It just came out at the beginning of April and I loved it, okay? In the first book, you're following Peyton, who is living in a society that is full of people with magical powers. However, she has none. So she has learned her whole life how to fit in with these people so that nobody suspects that she doesn't have any powers. But then she gets selected to go be a part of these trials where she has to compete against other people who have powers to survive. Through this, she has to go stay at the palace and she may or may not catch the eye of some princes. But this is the final book in that trilogy and it took so many turns that I was not expecting it to take. But there was a moment in the middle where I was reading it and I had to close it and put it down because I was like, please tell me this is not gonna go in that direction. Because there was a plot point that was brought up that was very similar to a plot point in a different, very popular YA fantasy series, and I actually hated that series. So I was like, please, 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 don't ruin this for me, okay? But it didn't go that way. I ended up really liking it. The chemistry, really good. Really good. It really just kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time because I had no idea where it was gonna go. I gave this a 4 stars. And then we kind of got into my reading slump because I started reading Rebecca. This is a classic and I have never been very good with reading classics when I had to read them in school growing up. English was just never my strong suit. I was always a math and science girly. Reading things that are a little bit ambiguous is just really difficult for me. Reading this book, it just took a lot of brain power and still, even like with my utmost attention, so many things went over my head and I didn't fully understand exactly what about this book makes it a classic. It makes it such a literary masterpiece. But overall, what I gathered from the plot is you're following this unnamed female main character and she is very young, but she meets Mr. De Winter, we'll call him. He decides to marry her. When she goes back to his big like estate, she finds that the memory of his late wife still hangs over absolutely everything. What I gathered from the plot while I was reading the book, I did enjoy. It was just, it took a lot of brain power, which is why it took me so long to read this book. But I ended up giving that 3 stars. Then I read Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Now I had previously read this book before, or listened to it. I listened to it several years ago and I actually really didn't like it. However, in actually reading the book, I think what bothered me the most about the audiobook was the accents that the narrators were putting on for the characters. The author actually writes the characters' dialogue like phonetically how it would sound if they were actually saying it out loud. That does take a little bit of deciphering, but once you kind of get used to it and understand like the patterns of how the dialogue is written, it's a lot easier to understand. So this book follows Kaya. She has been raised in the marsh, but when she's about 7, her entire family leaves her and she is now on her own living in the marsh. You are following her as she is trying to figure out a way to live, figure out how to make money and navigating, providing for herself as a 7-year-old, but also understanding that there's only so much that you can do for yourself, that you still need other people to help you do other things. As she's grown up in the marsh, she's been very ostracized from the community that's around her. She's learning how to socialize a lot older than most people would. I actually loved the movie and so I was very excited to read this again to see if I would like it more than I liked the audiobook, and I definitely can say that I did. I gave this a 3.5 stars. Then the last book that I read in April was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This bootleg, janky looking copy. It's what we had on the shelf, as you can see. It's not looking too hot. This book is really short, so you'd think that I'd be able to read it fairly quickly. No. Or basically the same problems that I had with Rebecca, I had with this book. I know this is so many people's favorite book, yet with my level of comprehension of the book, once I got to the end, I'm like, did we read the same book? Because I'm not really sure. We did. I gave this a 2.5 stars. So those are the 4 books that I read in April. And since this is gonna be like the shortest reading wrap up ever, I thought it'd be fun to do something a little bit different this month. I thought it would be fun for me to share with you the books that I am hoping to get to in May, so you can see some of the books that I'm gonna have videos coming out about, and you can maybe even take a guess in the comments on some of the videos that I'm planning on making. For my May TBR, we have Destroy Me and Unravel Me by Tahara Mafi. Now this is book 1.5 and 2 in the Shatter Me series. The Housemaid Wedding and The Housemaid is Watching. This is a novella and the final book in the Housemaid trilogy by Frida McFadden. Insurgent by Veronica Roth. The second book in the Divergent trilogy. Promise Me Not, book 2 in the Boys of Avix duology. The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the third and final book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, which is The Cruel Prince. Princess in Waiting by Meg Cabot. The fourth book in the Princess Diaries series, because if you didn't know, the iconic movies are actually based off of a series. A Slice of Heaven by Cheryl Woods. This is the second book in the Sweet Magnolias series. Runaway Bride and Prejudice. This is a book in the Appies series, which is a super fun clean hockey romance series that I've been really enjoying. Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. Spark of the Everflame. The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. American Royals. The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. And then you didn't think I was gonna end this video without mentioning this book, did you? Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is her newest release and I have not yet picked it up, which is crazy to think about. So those are all of the books I read in April and the books I'm wanting to read in May. Now that may seem like a lot of books, okay? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 books. That's a lot of books. Now I will say I have read 20 plus books in a month before. Given how many books I read in April, it's not really very indicative of me reading a lot of books in May. However, it's currently May 7th and I've already read more books than I read in April. We'll see. Guys, that is all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoy this type of content. If you made it this far in the video, comment down below your favorite book that you read in April and any books that you are hoping to read in May. And subscribe to my channel for more bookish content in the future. I hope you have a lovely rest of your week and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!